From Atlanta, Georgia, welcome to Fearfully and Wonderfully Me, a podcast for women on leadership and life skills with Rhea Story. Rhea shares powerful life and leadership principles, helping you maximize your potential and become the woman God created you to be.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode on Uphill Dreams. Today's episode is really inspired by a quote I saw recently by John Maxwell. And he says, most of us have uphill dreams, but downhill habits. And that really made me think, particularly in relation to, it's the end of the year, it's December, we're winding down the end of the year, and most people are focused on the holidays right now, but next week we'll kind of be shifting into a mindset of 2019 and what do we want to accomplish next year? What do we want to change for next year? Maybe it's something little, maybe it's just a personal, maybe it's a weight loss goal. That's a big one for a lot of us as January rolls around, and New Year's resolutions, or maybe it's a dream to start your own business, or maybe it's a dream just to be somewhere different in your career this time next year. But whatever it is, whatever our dream is or our goal is, dreams are always uphill. And by that, I mean, they take work. They don't happen accidentally. If you're not intentionally working to create or achieve whatever your goal is, this time next year, you'll be in exactly the same place. Dreams are always uphill, and they take uphill work to get there. And if you've ever climbed a big hill or even walked up a big mountain, you know that it takes a lot more energy to go uphill. It always takes more energy to go uphill. You're struggling, just a little bit more effort, fighting gravity a little bit more when you go uphill. So, anytime we're trying to improve ourselves or achieve something, it's going to be uphill because nothing gets better by accident. Nothing gets better by accident. You think of that. Our physical health doesn't get better by accident. Our emotional well being doesn't get better by accident. It's not just going to happen. It's not like you wake up on Christmas morning and bam, life is suddenly different or better. Or that goal or that dream that you've been working for just suddenly happens one morning when you wake up. No, it doesn't work like that. So dreams are always uphill. But, and the rest of Maxwell's quote is that most of us have downhill habits. And so I started thinking about that. We kind of all know that things don't get better by accident, and we know we'll have to work to achieve something great. But we don't always stop to think about the habits that we have in our lives that often are dragging us down instead of helping us go up. So that made me think about, well, what habits do I have in my life? What habits do I have in my life, and what do I need to do different? What's a downhill habit for me, and what does that look like? So as I started thinking about that, I'm usually pretty intentional, especially this time of year. I like to wind up my year in the few days after Christmas and going into New Year's. In fact, last year Mac and I did it together, but I love to take that time period in the last couple weeks of the year or the last few days of the year and just spend some time reflecting. What have I accomplished this year? And what do I want to accomplish next year? So that kind of gives me a starting point, where I'm at today and where I want to be this time next year. And then I think about the activities that will help me get there. What's going to help me get to where I want to go next year? What habits, in other words? And, habits are the things that we almost put in place automatically. Habits aren't necessarily the intentional, occasional things that we do, but they're the things that we do every single day. We almost don't even stop to think about them. Like when you walk in the door and you set your purse down and your car keys, you probably have a pretty consistent place of where you put them. That's a habit. And you've kind of created that as a system to say, well, every time I want to find my car keys, they're right here. So that's a habit. You don't even really think about that. Once you settled in your new house or new apartment, you kind of said, oh, this is where my car keys and my purse live. And most of the time, you can find them right there. So systems and habits are the things that we create in place to automate a lot of our daily life. But when we think about intentionally creating habits that help us achieve goals or improve ourselves, habits can be very, very powerful in a positive way. Now, they also can be very, very negative. I once talked to a lady who she really had a health goal and she wanted to lose weight, and she was a very busy physician, and so she would spend all of her day at her practice. And she said, "You know what? My eating habits are really great during the day. I eat a very healthy breakfast. I almost don't even eat lunch some days, but if I do, it's very healthy, usually a salad." She said, "But I've got a really bad habit of when I get home late at the end of the day, it might be 7 o'clock." And she said, and what I do is I find myself just snacking continuously all evening until it's time to go to bed. And I stay up way too late and try to get some work done, but I'm constantly munching and nibbling." And she said, "What I realized is that habit was making me gain weight and it's not helping me be healthy. And then I don't feel good and I feel more depressed about myself. And that habit is not serving me." So when she identified that, we brainstormed on to get together on some solutions she could put in place to stop it. Now, my point here is that each of us can have great habits that really help us. Exercise for me is a great habit. Like almost every single day, I exercise pretty early in the morning. Maybe not the first thing I do in the morning. I like to get some other things done first, but early in the day, exercise comes first in the first part of the day because it's a habit for me. It's something that I've just it's not optional. Today is a new day, and let me do something to exercise and improve my health. But then, so that's an example of a good habit. But as I thought about it, what are the habits that aren't serving me? And so every year, I started with this a minute ago, every year I like to spend the last few days of the year and I like to think about, maybe even write it down on paper. Number one, where am I at? Where do I want to go this time next year? And number two, three key questions. And I've probably touched on these before, but think about one thing I need to stop doing next year. One thing I need to stop doing next year. And whatever that is, maybe it's a habit that doesn't serve me or an activity that's just not in alignment anymore with my goals. And I've already shared in a recent episode, for me it was to cut back on teaching group fitness. Not that that's a bad thing by any means, and that's not a bad habit, but it's not in alignment and the best use of my time considering where I want to be this time next year. So for me, that was a pretty eye-opening revelation. Was that something that I'm spending time and energy, but it's really just not in alignment with where I'm going. So that was an example of a stop doing in 2019 for me. And then think about something that I need to continue doing. And then think about something that I need to start doing. Now, just one thing. I'm talking about very small changes here. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't feel like you have to change the world. If you have an exercise goal, one thing you might want to stop doing is stop watching TV more, or maybe minimize it, cut it down. Maybe you want to keep doing healthy eating. Maybe you want to start doing some exercise. Take some of that TV time you cut down and get out and go for a walk. So I want to just point out how easy it is to do these little changes, these little daily habits. And if we just improve one or two of them, it can be powerful when we compound it over time. You think about 365 days next year. If you just get one positive habit working for you better, multiply that times 365 times, think how much different. This kind of reminds me of John Maxwell's rule of 5, where he talks about, outside our front door, you've got this big, ginormous oak tree. And your goal, whatever that is represents that oak tree. And your goal is to chop that tree down. And so you get up today and you walk outside and you pick up an axe and you take 5 swings of the axe. And then you put the axe down and you go on the rest of your day. And then tomorrow you get up and you do the same thing. And you get up every single day and you take 5 swings with that axe and you walk away. So you don't have to chop the tree down all day. You don't have to work at that. You just take 5 swings every single day. Well, if you do that enough, sooner or later, the tree will fall. And it will be almost no effort. It'll just be 1 to 5 swings that day that makes the tree fall. And your goal would have been accomplished. That easy. But what happens a lot of times is we get up today and we hit the oak tree 5 times. And then tomorrow we get up and we go hit the pine tree over there 5 times. And the next day we might get up and we might go hit the sycamore tree 5 times. And we just end up with a bunch of beat up trees. So John Maxwell talks about the rule of 5 is figure out the 5 things that you need to do consistently that if you do them every single day will help you achieve that goal or that dream. So figure out what those 5 things are. They don't have to be big things, and you don't have to do them all day, but you'll do them every single day. Now, I've learned that you may not have 5, maybe you just have 3 habits that you put in place to say, if I do these things, 3 things every single day, life will be different and better next year. And your 3 things may change over time. There's nothing that says you have to set them in stone for the rest of your life, but as you grow and as your goals change, your activities and your daily habits should change, because hopefully those are in alignment with where you're going and where you want to go. So think about that. I know this is a busy time of year, but I also know that in the few days after Christmas, most of the time we have some downtime in between the holiday, even over the weekend, to sit down and just think about what are the 3 things, the 3 daily habits that I could work on consistently. What is something that I need to stop doing so that I have more time and energy for the something that I need to start doing? What do I need to let go of in 2018 so that I can grab on to something better in 2019? Until next time.
Start increasing your influence and maximizing your potential with Ria's audiobooks. Available at audible.com, amazon.com, and iBooks. Please visit riastory.com to learn about Ria's books, resources, speaking, and training programs. Thanks for listening.